We are going to talk about the endemic fish of Sri Lanka, as well as then there are some introduced species. We'll be speaking about them as well. So right now, the number of species of freshwater fish in Sri Lanka is 103 species, classified under 21 families, and there are 46 endemic species. So that number is actually like the valid number for that. So this number can always change within, like, it might be one today, but tomorrow it will be another, because there's a lot of research going on freshwater fish, like compared to mammals or birds. There's a lot of research done. So mainly most of the research are genetic research. So like there could be really quick differences. Like for example, let's say there's two populations of fish which is isolated for about 100 or maybe about 150 years. So those populations can genetically change and like actually like adapt into different like new species. Okay, so like this like I would like if you all answer this. So like I'll just like, what do you think these fish have in, like, as let's say as a threat, as in like for examples? Can you all answer?
Humans.
So yeah, basically humans. But what are the things that we are doing to like actually become a threat to these animals?
Humans take the food sources that they eat. Humans like overfish. Some even in
Yeah, overfishing is a good example, because like
it's
that
like
could
giant
be
snakehead. It's bad, right?
exactly. So that's a good example. If you I'm pretty sure, like, if you guys are familiar with some of the common fishes. Yes, can you hear us?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So mainly, one of the biggest threats right now is like polluted water, because like people are dumping garbage everywhere, as well as when there's a lot of floods and a lot of rainfall, like there'll be a lot of garbage pushed into these waterways as well. Okay. So, like, when we are talking about freshwater fish in Sri Lanka, it's actually categorized into 4 zones. That is the wet zone, the Mahaveli zone, the dry zone, as well as the intermediate zone. So, out of those 4 zones, the zones which has the most biodiversity of freshwater fish is actually the wet zone. So, the zone that we live in, like Colombo, basically. So like there's a lot of species of fish and more abundance of fish. Like if you go to like Gaul or like Matugama, Kalutara, Ratnapura district, like those are the places like where you can find a lot of fish, like the numbers of fish as well as abundance species wise. Okay, so there are several like critically endangered species in Sri Lanka as well. So there's some species who are limited, restricted into certain several like really small distributions, which may be like maybe like a 3 kilometer small stream. That like the population is only like found in that small area in certain species. Okay, so like when we are talking about the southwest zone, like which I did speak about before, like the most common fish species, you might have heard of the bulat thapea, bandula vetia, maybe bulat thapea, the black ruby barb. Yes, I would really like when I ask the questions, if you guys could answer, that would be really helpful. Okay, so for example, one of the like several of the common species you find there is like black ruby barb, the cherry barb, and also like the galpandia, which is all the Ceylon stone sucker. So, and also there are several road species, as well as the giant Sri Lankan snakehead, which is the Channa ara. So the Channa ara is also actually restricted to the wet zone because the one you find in the Mahavalley zone and the the one you find in the dry and intermediate zone is now actually being been like described as a three different species.
Yeah.
Okay, so typically when you take the wet zone as example, so the habitats you'll find in the wet zone are like this. So there'll be a lot of clear water streams as well as paddy fields, and also like like if you take Colombo, if you take the paddy fields and the wetlands here, like the wetlands, for example, the ones you see around Attidia, the Hival area, or the ones in like Battaramulla, Rajgiri area, you guys might be familiar, yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So even if you take a habitat like that, a habitat with like paddy fields or like a find a huge diversity of fish, like even endemic species, few will be talking about. For example, like you can find a lot of killifish. Do you know killifish?
No idea.
Yeah, I used to have killifish, the Ceylon
Yes.
killifish and dace
So yes, yes, okay. So those are commonly in Sinhala, they are called Udahandaya. The reason for that is they have this small like shiny dot on the top
in the
of their
night,
head.
like it's their brain. In the night, it shines
It's not their brain, it's actually like a
like a
developed
hormone,
scale, if
right?
I'm not wrong. So yeah,
It's a hormone in the brain, right?
if Safran is here, he can also.
Yeah, Molly, that's a developed scale that it shines. Yesi, you can continue. I will join in various parts.
Okay, okay. Okay, so like when you take habitats as that as well, so like there's actually three species of killifish. So all three of those species can be found in like urban wetlands and paddy fields, like as we spoke before. So these are the ones in the wet zone. So like around Colombo area. Okay. So unfortunately, I don't think I have a slide of the paddy fields or anything like that. So we just talk about that here. So, and as well as you guys might be familiar with the Ceylon snake, it is Channa orientalis.
I have one with babies.
So the yeah, so the Channa orientalis is also an endemic species, which is actually like confined to the wetlands. So like you do find them around Colombo as well, like around Colombo now. As far as you can only find them in like Kottava area and further on from there. Actually, like around 10, 8 years ago, you could find them from Kohuala even, like about 150 meters from the Kohuala junction to the Papliana side. There used to be these really clear streams that used to be abundant with these Channa orientalis. So right now, you don't find them anywhere near there. So like that, like within a small period of time, everything has changed really quickly because, like for example, as well as like I said before, the wet zone and like this area used to have like a lot of endemic fish. There are actually records of like the cherry barb even like in close areas. Now there's a small population in if you're familiar with like the Paduka side, which is I think maybe about 10 kilometers away from like Maharagama, or like more than that probably. So there's a small like pocket area which you can find them. So like those are like clear signs, like maybe
Yeah, yeah.
20 years or more before, like yeah. Yes.
You can find them near Kottava, then Maharagama. If you're familiar with these areas, there are some pockets that you can find Channa orientalis, mostly in paddy fields, then small waterways.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
Yes.
found them once in Gampaha.
Yeah, in Gampaha still there are a few. because compared to like like the heart of Colombo, Gampa is like a more like suburb kind of area. So there's a lot of possibility. A lot of these species are like there because like if you, for example, take like Varakapola side, there's a lot of like other endemic species that you wouldn't find close around here. Okay, so the next we'll have to like speak about the Mahaveli district. So Shafran will be speaking about that. Yes, I'll be.
Thank you, Isi. Can you please go to the other side?
Yeah. Yeah. The
Thank
next
you.
slide. Okay.
So now this is the second highest fish species diversity is recorded in Mahaveli zone. So there are some unique features that we can find, like Malpulutta, Dumbarapetya. These are very rare fishes, and also endemic, most of them. Dumbara Karadea. Then you all know Gadea. Gadea is a very famous fish that was rediscovered in Mahaveli zone. Yeah, there are small population also near Mahanuvara area in Mahaveli river. So anything else, Jesse? Yesitha?
So most of these species Shafran spoke about, for example, the Malpulutta. So that fish, like if you that's like confined to like Knuckles area. So like if you want to like see the fish, one of the best places to see them out of a natural habitat is actually the National Zoological Garden, because there's a collection of them there, as well as there's a captive breeding program going there. So most of the fish that you might not see in the natural habitat, the National Zoological Gardens is like one of the best places, so you can go and observe them. Okay, Safran can continue. Shall I skip to the next slide?
Yes, Jesse.
Okay, Safran.
Yeah. Now this is the example slides. You can see. You can take a idea about the habitat in Mahaveli basin. There are wide rivers, and no, it's not like the wet zone, but it's more open area and with fast moving water, because previously in wet zone you have noticed there is slow moving waterways and with low sunlight, but in Mahaveli zone it's totally different. You have fast moving waters, and then the sunlight is actually very different from the wet zone. I think you got the idea.
Yeah, so as Safran says, there's like a lot of aquatic habitats, like even like in every single zone, there's like different habitats. So like, for example, like if we go like back to speaking about paddy fields, those are actually man-made habitats, yes, but still there's a lot of these species, not only fish. So for example, there's frog species, dragonfly species. So there's a huge amount of the animals like depending on these habitats. Okay, so I'll let Safran speak about this habitat as well, because this is like one of the most favorite, as well as he's more familiar with this. So Safran, go ahead.
Now we have the dry zone. Dry zone is a totally different zone rather than the wet zone and the Mahaveli zone, because there are now in dry zone there are so many natural habitats, but in in wet zone there are so many natural habitats, but in dry zone most of them are man-made lakes and ponds and tanks. Also there are very few endemic fish species. Then wet zone and Mahaveli zone, mostly you can found Lula, Channa striata, Also, Walaya, Walago Atu. Walaya is the biggest fish in Sri Lanka that we can find. Also, Malpulutta, the butter catfish. Yes, Malputta's English name.
Butter catfish, yeah. The scientific
Butter
is
cat.
Ompoc silonensis, and I can't remember the other one.
Yeah. You can find these big predatory fish. Also, there are some introduced fish species. Let's talk about the upcoming slides in about those fish species. So
Yeah.
that's all.
Okay. So as Shafran said before, the dry zone is completely different compared to the wet zones. There are flowing rivers as well, if you're familiar with. Like if you go to Polonnaruwa like side, the waterways there are a bit more different compared to like these man-made, like when you take the man-made lakes as well as the natural water streams, there are like in the man-made water streams you can find a lot of like goby species. Like for example, you might know the bar-eyed goby, might have, because that's one of the most common. So like those species, those are like the common native species that you find in lakes like that. Other than that, there are many other introduced species. So like that we'll talk about further down. Okay, so these are like the for example, like the man-made lakes you see in the dry zone. I'm pretty sure all you guys are familiar with the habitats down there. Yes.
Yes, I am.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure like okay, hold on. So in the intermediate zone also there are like several of these fish. So there are fish from the wet zone as well as the dry zone found in the intermediate zone. So the fish you see in the slide here, I'm pretty sure everyone's familiar with the trouts. Yes.
Yes, introduced species.
Yes, so there are trouts are actually like a Northern American as well as a European species. Natively, they are found there. There are several species of, and also like there are, you can like when you talk about trouts, one of the main countries which come to mind is actually New Zealand, because there's a lot of trouts there. So like these fish are actually in like high montane, fast-flowing water streams. So trouts are really similar to salmon, if you're familiar with salmon. Yeah. So these trouts have been introduced to Sri Lanka. Actually, the Horton Plains in Sri Lanka, like for European settlers actually bought them, so they could actually fly fish as a hobby in these waters. So because these fish are introduced, there are a couple of theories that saying there used to be, in these waters there are no any other fish species found up to date, like in the waters of like Horton Plains. Have you all been to Horton Plains?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure like when you walk through, you have seen these water streams and all. Yeah,
Yes,
so
I
in these water streams, like except the trout, there's no other fish species up to date now. So there are few theories saying that there were endemic as well as native fish there, but because of because the rainbow trout was introduced, they actually like fed on the other fish and like wiped out the whole population. So right now, up to date, Safran, correct me if I'm wrong. There's two records of two species which were there, right? There's a possibility.
But they are not identified species. There is a possibility that we had previously we had some endemic fish or maybe native fish, but currently we don't have them.
Yeah, so even for the previous things, like there's like people have their own theories. Some people said they were fish and they went extinct. Some said no, there were like initially there were no fish in these habitats till like the trout was introduced. Okay, so now actually the trouts are thriving because there's no one doing fly fishing here, as well as I don't think it's legal to even fish for trout in a national park. So because of that, trouts are doing well, and there's like a lot of crustaceans like freshwater shrimp and crab. and those guys are actually like feeding on them. So that's actually a big problem, because even though these trouts are confined to habitat in hot and plains, there's a lot of like freshwater endemic crabs and shrimp, because there's not a lot of research done in these crustaceans. For example, when you talk about freshwater crabs, there's actually 52 identified species, and from that 52, 51 of them are endemic to Sri Lanka. So those are like really high numbers. So like there could have been more, and like when there's animals like this, they could actually wipe out entire population, because these small crustaceans, they're actually like point endemic, most of them. So like you point endemic means you find them in like a certain habitat only, like out of that habitat you usually don't find them. Okay, so these are like the typical habitats you find in like hot plains and the highlands around there. Okay, so this is like one of my favorite species. So the Channa ara is actually the largest endemic fish species in Sri Lanka. So previously there was only Channa ara. I'm sure like few of you guys might be familiar with the emperor snakehead, Channa morolius.
Yeah, Kalimantan snakehead, right?
Yeah, Kalimantan is Moroliodus. This is Morolius.
Yeah, we have
Morolius
related
is
to
the
Channa,
emperor.
right?
Yeah, no,
We
what
have
I'm
an
going to say is
emperor
actually
snakehead.
like, yeah, previously like only Channa Ara was there, but actually now it's actually been like, according to Mr. Hiranya, who's like one of the biggest freshwater fish researchers in Sri Lanka, he has divided genetically diverse these two species actually into 3 species. Yes, Shafran? 3, right?
Now you got Channa ara, then you have a species called Channa CFR. Then the
Channa
Channa
morolius.
morolius.
Yeah, Channa
You can find
morolius is actually like yeah. Channa
yeah.
morolius is the bullseye snakehead. And
It's
before, I
invasive,
think
right?
one Mali said it's not invasive here, it's invasive in North America, not here. Okay, it's a native species here now. Okay,
Yeah,
uh,
I know.
and the Channa Kalimantal is the Channa moroliodus, not morolius. So those are 3 different species. Okay, so the Channa Ara you find in the wet zone, like the one you find in around, if you find a Channa Ara around Gaul, that is the Channa Ara, the endemic species. And the Channa CFR is the one you find like around like
Kalutara.
Ratnapura district. Yeah, yeah, Kalutara. That's Channa CFR. So the CF before R is like actually within a couple of more research, I think that will also be like have its own name and be into another species, if I'm not wrong. So the Channa morolius is the one like you'll find in like the dry zones of Sri Lanka. So before this research, all these 3 species was considered as one, commonly known as Channa ara, but now it's like separated into 3 species. So as I said before, this is the largest endemic fish. They can actually grow up to like 4 feet, 3.5 feet in the wild. So now these fishes are like the large size fishes are coming like becoming really like hard to find, because these fish are caught for consumption, as well as now in like recent 3 years this fish has been really popular in the pet trade. So over fishing for like babies and all, so that's going to be a huge issue. So like if there are people, if there are Malis like who are keeping fish, always know like when you're buying a wild caught fish, that is also like going to be a little impact to the natural habitat, because many of these fish nowadays, like also like when they're small in the natural habitat, when they're about 2 3 till they get about 3 inches, they always like stay in a flock. So what these people do is they actually like catch the whole flock and they bring them and sell them out. But most of them won't survive because they are known to like kill each other as they get older. That's like a really common behavior of snakeheads. So what happens is like when you take a huge population like babies from the natural habitat, that like if you continue to do that, so the whole population from that area could be wiped out. So actually, when we are buying fish like that, we are actually creating a market for those people to go and catch these babies.
Excuse me.
So yes.
In a pet shop, like there was like an aquarium shop, and once when I went, they had caught a lot of tire track eels. Then I bought one of them, and I have him in tank. He's still alive. But then, like 2 weeks later, when we went, most of the tire track eels were dead, and none of them have eaten. The one I bought home, he ended up eating because, well, the tank was good quality or something. He just started to eat, but all the other eels in the shop, all the other tire track eels, they were all wild caught babies, and they
so
were like
that's a good example for this as well.
And besides, those are like the smallest tire track eels I've ever seen. Normally, like fire eels and tire track eels and like any sort of like.
Where's this aquarium in Borlasco?
Yeah, Atlantis.
Yeah, the Atlantic. Yes.
Yeah, they even have they have white spotted puffers that they just caught from a lagoon, and then
so Malli,
then they had
we'll talk about this impact right after these slides are done. Okay, at the end you can ask many as questions you want. So I'll continue with this. So the whole family Channa is actually a carnivorous and highly predatory species. So they feed on other fish, amphibians, crustaceans, and even if they get a chance to eat like birds or like whatever, if baby small in, they'll definitely eat because they are actually opportunistic. They'll eat anything they find. Like in captivity, they can be easily trained to eat pellet food as well. Okay. Okay, Shafran, you could explain about this.
Okay, thanks, Yesitha. This is Horidhandia atukorlai, known as the green carpet. Now, this is a fish that you can usually find around Diyawannawa, also Baddegana Wetland Park. It's a very small fish. It's considered as the smallest endemic fish in Sri Lanka. Mostly it prefers low moving waterways, and also you can find in a brackish water habitat in Sri Lanka. It's a very sensitive fish. Even if you catch it, and if you take the out of the water, it will immediately die. So don't go to try it. AC.
Yeah, so as Safran said, this the Horidhandia is actually the smallest endemic species in Sri Lanka, as well as you find them a lot in like our urban habitats, like the urban wetlands. If you take the Battaramulla, and like I think you can find them almost all around Colombo. So actually, like further on, we talk about some species. So because this fish is confined to these like around Colombo, like there's a good population of them around Colombo. So the water is being polluted, and there's a lot of like bad quality water. It's a huge impact for these fish because unlike snakeheads or like the walking catfish, like the Channa orientalis, like compared to those endemic species, these fish actually need like really high quality water because those fish are air breathing fish. They can like stay in stagnant and like all these like polluted water you find around Colombo. But for these fish, it's actually much more hard because they need really clean water. Okay, so when we say endemic fish, I think this is like the most iconic one.
Most famous one.
Most famous one, Petia nigrofasciata. So this one also you can find all around the wet zone of Sri Lanka, like near to Colombo. You won't find them now, but if you go to like Kalutara Matugama side, you can easily find them, as well as further down from like Horana side towards like Ratnapura side, you can easily find them. And these guys, like the reason, can anyone like give example why they are named the Bulathapya?
Because they look like that spit, right? From
Yeah, because not because they look like the spit. The males of these have a like almost that same like beetle leaf, like when you chew it, the color you get almost like that reddish color, towards like the downside of their body, the male ones. So that's how you easily identified
yeah,
the
that's what I
males.
like meant, because when you like shoot
Yeah.
the bullet and spit it out, right?
Yes, that's the color. So that's the color the males will get during their breeding season as well as when they're sexually matured. The females look, yeah,
Again, these black ruby barbs are really popular in the pet trade, right? In other
yeah, they're
countries.
really popular in the pet trade. We'll talk about
Yeah,
that. We'll,
I have a
yeah,
book. I have a book about fish keeping, and they have like tank ideas, and then there's like a Southeast
yes,
Asian tank idea, and then they just say you can
yeah,
buy black ruby barbs and
yeah,
even cherry barbs.
yeah. So when you take this one, like the fish in the bottom picture, that's the female, and the one in the top is the male. So juveniles won't have this reddish color as they get older. Only they will get this reddish color. Safran, do you have anything else to tell about the Bulatape?
No, you can continue.
Okay. Okay. So this is also like one of the most critical endangered fish. And when we talk about Sri Lankan endemic fish, this is also like one of the most iconic fish of them all. So this is the Bandula barb. So
Yeah, it's a
Safran
pointed
just,
endemic fish.
yeah,
It's a
yeah,
pointed endemic fish. You can only found this fish in Galapita Mada in Varakapura area. So it's like its distribution is limited, like in between 1 kilometer. I think it's like 800 meters. No, is it? It's a very
now
small
I think,
area.
yeah,
Yeah, two separate populations. So it's look like Bulathapya, but you can see there is a clear difference between Bandulapetia and Bulathapya. It's limited to a stream between a rubber plantation and a paddy field. So I previously said it's a pointed endemic fish. That's mean in the whole world you can find this fish only in that stream, only in Galapita Mada in Varakapola division. So is there anything that you want to add?
yeah. So this fish is confined to this stream in the actually the Kagala district. So in Varakura. So like as Safran said, this particular fish is found only in that small stream. That stream is actually, I think, about 8 feet to like 5 feet wide. That's like the length of the stream. If I'm not wrong, I'm not exactly sure about the length of the stream. The width of the stream, sorry, the length is actually a bit over a kilometer long. So small stretch. So like only in that habitat you naturally find them. So actually that area is now becoming into like a great conservation project, because like the people, the people from the village are actually putting down a great effort to like actually conserve the species, because they won't let anyone come in and like get into these streams and catch them. So like if you actually go to catch them, you'll probably get a good beating from them and you'll have to come. So there's actually a fewer than only maybe about 1,500 fish. So only about 750 pairs of these fish naturally found in the stream. So that is like a really low number. But there are two captive breeding programs which are going. One of them is happening in the National Zoological Garden, which has been highly effective, because they have been breeding these fish for a couple of times, and they have actually established a population outside this Galapitamada area, because like not in the same district, but because in case something happens to that population there will be no genetical sample from the like viable fish from there, but there are another population outside of that area, like in a natural habitat in Sri Lanka. I'm not going to mention the area, but it's actually not in the west zone of Sri Lanka. And there's another breeding program going in like the Czech zoo, and there are other zoos having them outside the country, but the Czech Republic, they have a really successful breeding program going on there. Okay, anything else you want to add, Shafran?
No, let's move the fish.
Okay, this. So as I said before, like there's actually 7 species of Channa, actually snakeheads in Sri Lanka. So I saw like there was a video done. Sorry, there was another lecture done by y'all about snakeheads, which was really good. I watched it. So I'm pretty sure you guys are.
Me and one of my friends did it.
Me and
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure like most of you all are familiar with snakeheads, so we'll talk a bit more in detail about snakeheads. So there are 7 species of snakeheads in Sri Lanka, and out of those 7, there's 2 endemic species, which is the Channa orientalis and Channa ara. Shafran, if you have anything to add, just jump in and add. So the Channa orientalis and the Channa, previously it was known as Channa ligachua, the brown snakehead. Now it's genetically like speciated to Channa kelati, which was also species like which was previously there in our Sri Lankan records. So the Channa kelati and the Channa orientalis, the main difference between these 2 species are there's this small 2 fins called the pelvic fins, which is under side of the body. The Channa orientalis doesn't have the pelvic fins. The Channa kelati has the pelvic fin. So like you can't really like identify them through color as soon as you see them. That takes a bit of practice. So these fish, as I said before, were like really abundant. The Channa orientalis like to the heart of Kalamulu. So like you guys all are familiar with Kohuala, right? So that's like a really highly populated area. You can find that. You used to find them there. Now you don't. So but around, yeah.
Yeah, I have some babies like Channa orientalis. They're like
Yes.
the mother is Channa orientalis and the father is Channa Andrao.
Andrao, okay. So these dwarf snakeheads, they do hybridize because actually there are several like in the natural habitats, there are several places which are observed where the Channa kelati and Channa orientalis have been bred, and there are established like populations in the wild. So like the first, like I got to know about this 2-3 years back. I don't think there's any like publicated papers on populations in Sri Lanka. Am I correct, Safra?
Oh yeah, I see.
Yeah,
scientifically proven
can happen, and well as the yeah, it's not proven as a species, but there are hybrids like that, like in certain populations.
Yeah. And
so these fish,
then there's like another captive bred species in another country in the pet trade. It's called Channa orcha. It's a Channa
Channa
Ornate
orcha, the Channa palcha and the Ornate finis.
and Ornate finis crossed.
Yeah, so these are like they do live healthy and all, but they are not like known as a species because this doesn't, like, it's not something naturally occurred. It's not considered a species. Like hybrids, you don't consider them as a species actually. So these fish, they are like the Channa orientalis and the kelati, both of them like really clear water. So they are found in slow flowing, clean. You can find them in like a depth of like 3 feet deep, but you do find them in like really shallow water. Really shallow means, I mean, like water with actually like 2-3 inches deep, even you find them. And these are 2 really beautiful fish. They get this really nice bluish color. Both of these fish, the Channa kelati and the Channa orientalis, but the Channa orientalis is actually the endemic species. So Shafran, anything you want to add? Yes.
Some people mistake Channa orientalis with Channa punctata, right?
Yes, they do. But Channa punctata and orientalis were like you can differentiate them through the habitats, because like the Channa puntata, the spotted snakehead, that one you don't find in these clear waters and all. You find them in like stagnant, murky, unclear. Like for example, like the streams near paddy fields and all, you can find the Channa puntata. But the Channa puntata and the Channa kelati, they sometimes they are found in like the same habitat.
Yeah, and the Channa
And there is a very different color pattern.
Yes,
They
there's
don't
a
have the
very,
same
very different
stripes
color
on the
pattern.
fins.
Sorry?
In the pectoral fins they have that like
The stripes.
yeah, the Channa
Yeah.
puntata don't have that.
Yeah, the Channa puntata doesn't have clear ones, because like
Dwarf snakeheads
yeah.
have those stripes on the pectoral fins.
Yeah, many dwarf snakeheads, for example, the Andrao and rainbows, Blairy, they all have them. Okay.
Again, is it easy to like crossbreed dwarf snakeheads like in captivity?
Yeah, in captivity it is actually really easy, but the thing is they have to like pair out, because otherwise if you
Because
just put two individual males, there is like yeah.
I have female Channa palcha, and I'm thinking about like crossbreeding her with like some other like species, like maybe like
Yeah.
Channa or something.
Yeah, that is possible, but you have to always consider never letting them like release them back into like a natural habitat here. Yeah. So the next species is also a very common species. I'll let Shafran go on with this.
Now let's talk about the cherry barb. No, in Sinhala known as Yesitha. As previously we talked about Bulatapea or the black ruby barb. So yeah, the cherry barb is a small fish species. It's like 5 centimeters or maybe 4 centimeters. The female don't have the bright colors like the male. So always the male has the brightest red color. In most cases, when you are in the when they are in the breeding season, they get these bright colors. Also, cherry barb is very popular as a aquatic fish. It's very popular in the aquatic trade in other countries, because there is a population that previously been smuggled. I think, is there any legal import about the cherry barb?
So actually, there's a program like initiated by NACDA. So what they did was because people were actually catching these Channa, sorry, not Channa, the Pontius,
yes.
Yeah, cherry barb and also the Bulatapea. What they did was they have, I can't remember which are all the species, they have given some of like some individuals for like the breeders, like sorry,
Galpandi, Gara.
Yeah, as well as the Sakamots. So like they had given to like actually fish breeders. There's a fish breeding farm which I personally know has Channa, cherry barb as well as comb tails, the Thalcosa. So they have been captively breeding them, and these captive bred ones are legally you can like export them. So that is actually sustainable, as well as these guys do breed easily. All barbs do. So because of that, that has been more successful.
Yeah, and I know there's like a private breeder who breeds like really endangered geckos. Even like endemic ones in Sri Lanka, he breeds them. And that's just for the pet trade. Like he doesn't really know about like
in
the
Sri Lanka
like status.
Or outside of Sri Lanka.
Outside of Sri Lanka, he doesn't really know about the status of the geckos. He just breeds geckos and sells them online and stuff. And then, but those some of them are like real rare species that are found in Sri Lanka.
Yeah. Okay, we'll talk about that in a while. So this cherry barb also, like if there are like it's not scientifically proven, but there are sort of like color variations in these guys. So like if you go to like Ratnapura side, or also there's a small rainforest in Gaul called Kottava rainforest. So if you take the populations there, Ratnapura as in like yeah, what do you call that rainforest in there's Shafran, I can't remember the name. Okay, there's this really not no in Ratnapura. I can't remember the name of there. Like there's a really popular rainforest there, as well as the rainforest in Gaul. So these rainforests have two populations, which the male of the fish is entirely red. So there's no lateral stripe. It's a entirely red pure fish, because like if you take like the Mathugama side, the fish is clearly like the fish in this slide has
But
a
why
like
the
a
eye
lateral
gold color?
stripe as well as a slight yellow. Yeah, the eye is gold color. So, but the ones in like the Gaul and Ratnapur population, the eye is also red. It's a really beautiful fish. I think that's like the most beautiful population of cherry barbs they have. So, and the females have like a yellowish to beige color with this black dorsal stripe. Okay. So, Shafran, anything else you want to add?
No, I see.
Okay. Okay. So this I think Shafran should talk about, because like we had a really good encounter with him.
Okay. Now.
Shafran,
You
I think you
say-
better like Shafran. Yeah. You just tell them about both the endemic species of eels, like the tire track one and this one. You just mentioned both of them.
Okay.
Okay.
So you all have seen the normal eel, the black eel. Anyone?
Yeah.
So now I'm going to talk about the swamp eel. There are two species in Sri Lanka of swamp eel. First one known as the deciduous swamp eel, and the other one known as the Bengal swamp eel. So currently only deciduous swamp eel is endemic to Sri Lanka. As you can see, it's totally different fish. Okay, also known as blind eels, because you can see its eyes has been covered with the skin, really thin skin. So these fishes has been widely distributed in lowland, but you can't easily found them. Yeah, like it's really hard to find one, because mostly they will be in like in paddy fields or in marshy areas. So it's really hard. And also in this one, the lesser swamp eel, there are very few photographs and videos about this fish species. So they can live in low oxygen conditions, also known to breathe oxygen from outside the water. Anything else, Jesse?
Yeah, so as Safran said, this is like a bit of a rare species. It's not actually rare as in you don't find them. The reason they're considered rare is due to the habitats they live, like Safran said, paddy fields and swamps. So like when I say paddy fields and swamps, they typically don't live in water. They actually live in like the banks of water, like inside the mud. So because of that, you don't really find them.
They are elusive, right?
Yeah, they're really elusive. So that's the best way to like describe them. And also like because we are talking about endemic fish, there are actually two types of tire track eels. So the common tire track eel, and there's another one called the Batakola telia. I think in English it's called the Sri Lankan tire track. Is it Zafran?
Yeah, five-eyed.
Yeah, the five spotted. Like I'm not really sure with that.
Like that.
Tire track, yeah. So there's actually another tire track species here which is endemic. So that and lesser swamp eel is actually like the endemic ones in Sri Lanka. So I think there's a story Safran should go around.
No, I see you.
With lesser.
I
Okay,
have
so,
put
like
two
this-
links in the chat. If anyone is interested about this fish, you can visit the webpage.
Yeah. So, like we said, like this was a species, like me and Shafran, we wanted to like actually see this fish to ourselves, but we never found one. There was no records with like anyone we knew didn't have them, so we could go see. But one day when we were visiting a particular aquarium, they had one and they didn't know what it was. And I asked how, like, what they want for it, and they said, all right, we offered it and we got it. So like we knew it was a swamp eel, but we were not sure which species it was because there's no proper description of these guys, and like even we hadn't seen it before. Like Safran said, there's two, the lesser and the bengalensis. So because of that, we had no idea which one we were getting because it was a swamp eel. We did get it. So turns out that was actually like the endemic one, the lesser swamp eel. So that was like a really rare opportunity because it's like that elusive, this fish, because there's like no like proper photography and we could like compare it to and see whether is this the lesser or the bengalensis.
Yeah, there are a lot of
Yes.
there are a lot of times where aquarium shops have ended up getting really rare endemic fish, and
Yeah, there's
they
a
just
lot
sell
of
them.
ones like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
because they
it's
also
mostly
have
after
no proper
Corona.
idea what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's mostly after Corona because before
yes,
Corona imports were there, but after Corona it's only
exactly.
like local
Yeah,
bred fish. So then to get like
yeah,
exotic monster fish and stuff, they just catch them from
yeah.
the wild.
Whatever
So
they
then
find, they sell it. Yeah.
Yeah, how much was the offer?
That is like I think 1,000 or something, 1,000 or 1,005. They like give it.
That's it. Oh, that you
Yeah,
guys are so lucky.
yeah,
yeah. For a
do you
rare
all still
opportunity
have
like
the
that,
gill?
yes.
Yeah, do you all still have the gill?
Yeah, yeah. The eel is still there with Safran.
Oh, what
No,
else?
Yes,
actually,
it's not there. Okay.
we finally ended up finding both species.
Yeah, we found the bengalensis as well because the bengalensis was actually considered more rare than this guy. It's not endemic. You can find them in other countries, but in Sri Lanka it was considered rare. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's enough about these. We'll skip on to the next slide. Okay, this also I think Safran should explain.
Yeah. So Malpulutta, I think it's a very famous fish, commonly named as Malpulutta. So it's a very beautiful fish. Now you can see there is a blue color to this fish. It's a male one, but in the wild you can't find this color. It's very rare, and mostly you will encounter like fishes with brown color. This is a captive picture of a captive catfish. So that's why you can see there is a very clear blue color. Now about the you can take over.
Yeah. Okay, so like Safran said, this Malpulutta is also an endemic, and this is also a little bit getting rare because there's a high demand for this fish in the aquatic trade. So because of that, not in Sri Lanka, out of Sri
In
Lanka.
German,
So because of that,
Europe.
yeah, many European countries, this is a highly valued and like fish. So because of that, there's a lot of people actually catching them and sending them. So because of that, yes.
One of my friends crossbred them with the normal Chinese paradise.
Yeah. So that you do find like all over the trade. Okay, so like Safran said, the males and females of these guys are different because the females don't have this much color. Males have this really nice blue color as well as like a pin in their caudal fin. Okay, I think we'll skip on to the next slide. Okay, so these are like some of the major threats the freshwater fish in Sri Lanka, like threats which poses to them. So basically, the biggest impact is actually habitat loss because for a lot of like construction developments and all that, there's a lot of like if you take around Colombo, like most of the wetlands are being filled up, swarms are being like dumped with garbage, and because of that, so those are some of the biggest threats to like the habitats around here. So like if you can conserve the habitat, the fish and other species within that will automatically survive. Shafran, anything you want to add to this?
Then we have the alien species,
Yeah.
also known as the invasive fish. I think we will talk about
Yeah,
in
we
more
will talk
detail.
about that in more detail in a while. Okay,
Also, we have dams built across streams. This is actually more effect like it's like to eels because they travel to the sea in breeding season. Because of these dams, they are actually unable to cross them over.
So what Safran says is like just like salmons, if you have seen in documentaries, they travel from the wild to like the lakes inland to spawn. Just like that, the black keel and the short fin and the long fin eel, they also like travel to the sea back to like lay their eggs. So just like that, for used to like cross over and all when there's dams built, that's going to be an issue. So like if the eels did inland didn't go back to sea, there wouldn't be more generations like there. So like if you build dams across streams and like small rivers and all, it's actually gonna like be a huge impact for these eels as well as other animals. Anything else, Safran, you want to add?
No, you can continue.
Okay. Okay, so there's a lot of Safran, you can explain.
Yeah, currently, previously, she told about the dams and also that's a problem that most people use dynamite to fish. So this is also a problem because most of fish end up dead.
Yeah, so what they do is they actually throw dynamite into waterways. So what that happens is when the dynamite blows, the impact like done in water, that will like the rays will go. And if you're familiar with fish, so the fish have these sensitive organs called the lateral lines. So when these lateral lines are damaged, fish automatically die. So that's killing all the fish in the water as well as other animals. So yes. And Safran, I think you should explain about the mini hydropowers as well.
Yeah. I think the same problem comes with the mini hydropowers because you build it crossing a waterway. So most fish end up either they can't travel to the places they want, and there is a problem that comes with these mini hydropowers because they store the water. And in you know, you see, there are some fishes that travel in the breeding season. I'm talking about barbs. Some there are some that go
some
downstream.
certain species, yes.
So this is also a big problem in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, so those are like some of the major threats which these freshwater fish. Okay, we'll skip on to the next slide, I believe. Yeah, okay. So alien species. So there are actually several invasive species here. So only 3 of these species are actually scientifically classified as alien or invasive species. That is the sucker-mouth catfish here, the marble catfish, and the cloud knife fish, also known as silver featherback. So these fish are bought in from the aquarium trade, and they are released into the natural habitat. And so, like if you take the scavenger or the suckermouth catfish, for example, you can find them all around Colombo and also in dry zone habitats as well. So same thing goes to the marble catfish. It's a predatory fish. It grows up really quickly, breeds rapidly, and it's a carnivorous fish. So this fish actually grows up to about 2 feet. It will feed like catfish. One like it's like an instinctive thing in catfish. Like whatever they can fit in their mouth, they will feed on. If any of you guys who have kept fish had like red tail catfishes or marble catfishes would have a good idea of what I'm saying. They'll eat anything they can fit in their mouth.
Yeah, these days even red tail catfish are like breeding in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, they are, but that is in like aquariums, like fish breeders, not in the natural habitat. So like there's a big threat from them. Yeah. Sorry, there is a really slim chance of red tail catfish breeding, but there could be a possibility. And also this cloud knife fish that they were also released during floods from like breeding centers, and you can find them in like the Malpulutta river and also around Colombo as well. So they are also predatory fish feeding on
Yeah, even alligator gas are invasive, right?
they are not considered invasive yet because there's only a few individuals found. Actually, Shafran, we also found a specimen, a dead specimen from Talawatugoda, yes? Yeah, Shafran, can you hear?
Yeah, you guys like allowed to observe fish like in the natural habitat just to go and catch and see and release back?
It depends. Like you can do that in unprotected areas. You can. If it's a protected area, you cannot.
No, I mean you
So with certain permits and all, if it's a protected area, we can. If it's not a protected area, we can we can. If it's a protected area, we cannot. So Shafran has had a small technical issue. He's gone. So the cloud knife fish, they also grow into like a massive sizes compared to our native fish in our habitat. So they also reach size about 2 feet. And these fish have no natural competitors. The only competitor a cloud knife would have is a crocodile. So crocodiles also don't like just go and like catch these guys only and eat. They will like feed on smaller fish.
Yeah, but
So
giant snakeheads, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Snakeheads.
Snakeheads, as in you're referring to Channa?
Yeah.
Yeah, in the habitats where both of them are fine, they will feed on them. But like the places both of them are fine are really small areas. Like if you take the Malpulutta river, there are certain pockets that you find both of them in. Other than that, you don't find both the species in the same area.
For a Channa striata, it's possible for Channa striata to eat like a baby knife fish, right? Clown knife.
Yeah, babies they can, but the thing with the cloud knife fish is they lay a lot of eggs and most of them hatch, and like they have a good chance of they're nocturnal and there's a good chance of them surviving as well. So because of that, you like there's no natural competitor for them in the natural habitat. Yeah, and also now like the fish next to the cloud knife is the jewel cichlid. I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar with. So this fish is also found in like these are very small fish, very small as in they grow up to about only 4 inches, rarely 5 inches. So these fish are highly territorial. They are found around Colombo now. So when they lay eggs, they don't let any fish like come near their spawning grounds. So for example, like the first time we found this fish, me and Shafran, we found it like 4 years back in a place in Piliyandala. So like 4 years back, in that same waterway, there was Channa striata, there was Channa puntata, there was Horadandia, there was also Raul dandia, which is also an endemic fish. There were many other small fish as well. But we were observing that place yearly, not like we were regularly going there, like at least every 2 months at least. So what we came to see was like every single month we go, like the certain fish species are declining from that small stream. So in the end, the only fish, the last time we went, there was, I think about 6 months ago, the last time we went, we didn't find any of the endemics. We didn't find any Channa striata. We found 2 Channa punctata, and the other fish we found was guramis, Nile tilapia, and the jewel cichlids, because they could actually like coexist with this fish, these African species. So all the other fishes actually like not found within a short period of time during the like in that small stream because they were breeding. Yes.
Yeah, even Mayan cichlids are invasive, right?
Yeah, even Mayans are they are not like put into a list, but you can put them because they are found all over Colombo right now. Yeah, okay. We'll skip on to this. So there are a few species actually were introduced by the government. So because of that, we don't use the term alien or invasive on these, but they do pose a threat to our natural systems, which are like guppies, kissing guramis, and the Nile tilapia, also known as the Mozambique tilapia. So the guppy was actually introduced to Sri Lanka to like actually eat the mosquito larvae. But actually, naturally, in our systems, we had a fish doing that job. The fish doing that was actually the killifish. They were there in the normal small water streams and like the canals and all you find now. But sorry?
And dwarf panchaxes? All
Yeah, dwarf pan, yeah, those are the killifish. So those are the fish who are doing the job originally, but what the government did was they like introduced guppy to this system. So guppies populate really quickly. So they ended up regenerating really rapidly. And so due to that, the killifish didn't have any habitat to live on, no food to feed on. So from many of those places, the killifish has declined and all like gone extinct from some places, and the only fish you find is guppies. So there was animal who was naturally doing this, but the government interfered and like created a massive problem. Yes.
One of my friends actually gave me a pair of killifish, like that friend is also in the meeting, and then they ended up breeding.
Yeah, so that's really good. Like that means if they're breeding in captivity, you have a good water quality, and less you might be having a, like a natural almost habitat. Otherwise, they wouldn't be ending up breeding. Okay, so these other fish, the kissing gurami and the yeah, they can. So the Nile tilapia and the kissing gurami, as well as several other species, were introduced to the dry zones of Sri Lanka. So mainly for the tanks, because like Shafran said before when he was talking about the biodiversity in the dry zones, there's a lot of like compared with the wet zone, there's a low number of fish. So the main fish they were feeding on there is the valea, the Valagoatu, and also they were feeding on these massive gobies and tyrackies. So this introduced happened in the 1980s, if I'm not wrong. So they introduced these species for a food source for us. So now you can find them in the wet zones as well. So all cichlids, this Nile tilapia is also a territorial fish when they're spawning. So when they do spawn, they don't let any other animals come near them. So when there's a high number of them, they will like, compete for food as well. So for the native species, that will be a problem. Okay. Okay, so that's the end of our presentation. Unfortunately,